Remember to give the video a thumbs up, share your insights in the comments, and subscribe to keep up with our newest tales. It's fascinating how a seemingly small act, just a simple favor, can turn the tide of everything. But isn't that just the way of the world? The tiniest details often pave the path to the most surprising experiences. Once upon a time, on a serene Friday evening, the scene was set for something remarkable. The aroma of lavender wafted through the air, a gentle reminder of the candles I had lit earlier, while the soothing notes of jazz filled the room from the speaker nestled in the corner. As I wrapped up the evening's cleanup, my husband Mark strolled into the kitchen, a foam cup in hand, and a hint of uncertainty in his expression. "Hey, sweetheart, do you recall Tom?" he inquired with a nonchalant air. Yet the inflection in his voice hinted at deeper layers to this exchange. I recalled Tom, the old friend of Mark from his workplace. He was there on that special day long ago, and would occasionally drop by for our game nights. He was the type of individual whose presence was subtle, never seeking to overshadow a discussion, yet always captivating when he chose to share his thoughts. Once upon a time there was a man who found himself alone, having weathered the storm of a challenging divorce. Not too long ago. "Absolutely," I responded, wiping my hands on a towel. "What's the reason behind that?" "Well, he's caught in quite the predicament," Mark shared. "Tomorrow marks the start of his business trip. But just as he was preparing, he received the unexpected news that his dog sitter has cancelled at the last moment. He inquired whether we might take care of Buddy for a few days. Once upon a time there was a dog. Once upon a time I found myself not particularly drawn to pets, yet they never bothered me. Yet I found myself pausing. How long will it be? Only the weekend, Mark promised me. He'll return on Monday evening. I assured him that it would be fine, but I thought it best to consult you first. With a deep breath, I let out a sigh, followed by a gentle smile. "It seems I can manage a dog for a couple of days." Mark pressed his lips gently against my forehead. "You're truly remarkable. In the morning, he'll take Buddy on a little adventure before parting ways." The following day, right at 9 a.m., the doorbell chimed as I lingered in my robe, savoring the warmth of my morning coffee. I swung open the door to reveal Tom standing on the threshold. He appeared somewhat disheveled, his hair askew, suggesting a hurried pace. Beside him sat Buddy, a golden retriever with gentle, warm eyes, and a spirit so lively it could soften the hardest of hearts. "Hey, I really appreciate you doing this," Tom said as he walked in. He placed a bag on the ground overflowing with dog food toys and what appeared to be a comprehensive guide for taking care of Buddy. "It's all good," I reassured him. Tom flashed a sincere smile, the kind that revealed the weight he had been carrying regarding the situation. "I truly owe you a favor," he remarked. We exchanged a few more words, sharing moments of connection, until he looked at his watch and let out a deep sigh. "I need to head out now, or I'll lose my chance to catch my flight." As he turned to leave, I caught a glimpse of his shoulders, easing a silent acknowledgement that Buddy was now in capable hands, as if a heavy burden had been lifted from his spirit. "Wishing you a safe journey," I called out to him as he departed. And in that moment, it was only Buddy and me embarking on our own little adventure. In the beginning, all seemed as it should be. Buddy exhibited such good manners that I genuinely found pleasure in his presence. He trailed behind me throughout the house, his tail swaying with joy. That evening, as I settled in with the book, Buddy nestled his head on my lap, letting out a satisfied sigh. But then an unforeseen twist unfolded in the stillness of the night. I found myself in the kitchen reaching for a glass of water, when suddenly my phone buzzed, breaking the silence. "A tale? From Tom, I trust. Buddy is behaving himself. and not causing too many issues. Thank you once more for your assistance. With a warm grin, I responded. Absolutely not. He has a heart of gold. Moments later, my phone glowed once more. It's wonderful to know that I found myself concerned that he would feel my absence deeply. To be honest, I find myself longing for his presence already, and those enchanting conversations we had under the stars. That final sentence gave me a moment of reflection. I was aware that Tom and Mark shared a strong bond, but Tom and I, that was a different tale altogether. Our relationship had always been warm, yet we had never delved into deeper conversations. Just the two of us, beyond the light exchanges at social events. Well, I'm certain he'll be thrilled to see you on Monday, I replied, maintaining a calm demeanor. This time, the response lingered a bit longer in the air. Indeed, Monday seems like a distant tale waiting to unfold. I gazed at the screen, caught in a moment of uncertainty about how to reply. Was I interpreting this too deeply? Was he simply weaving a tale? With a sigh, I placed the phone aside and crawled into bed. Yet slumber eluded me. A certain essence of that exchange stayed with me, echoing in my thoughts the following day as I went through my usual activities. Thoughts of Tom lingered in my mind more than they ought to have. His words lingered in the air and the way he had gazed at me as he left. Buddy behind told a tale of unspoken emotions. Was there something hidden in the shadows? Or was I simply reading too much into it? Later in the afternoon, my phone buzzed once more. Hey, would it be all right if I gave you a quick call? For a moment, I paused before crafting my response. Absolutely. In the next instant, my phone chimed with a call. With a steadying breath, I began to share my thoughts. Hey, I said, attempting to maintain a cheerful tone. Hey. I heard back from Tom. His voice carried a warmth that felt deeply personal. I trust. I'm not intruding on your time. Not in the slightest, I replied, though I could feel my heart beginning to race a bit. He released a gentle breath. I longed to listen to your voice. A peculiar jittery sensation coursed through my veins. This had transformed into something far from an ordinary exchange. Tom, I inquired gently, is everything all right? After a brief pause, he gathered his thoughts and began to share his words. I'm not sure, he confessed. It feels like I've been carrying a weight for ages this weekend with you caring for Buddy and being there while I'm here. I've come to a realization. I took a deep breath, my fingers tightening around the phone. What is there to understand? I have always seen you as more than simply Mark's partner. My breath hitched in my throat. For a brief instant, doubt crept in as I questioned whether I had truly grasped his words. Tom's words lingered in the atmosphere, a palpable presence that felt heavy on my heart. Beyond being simply Mark's wife, I settled into my seat, my fingers tightening around the phone. Tom. My voice was just a soft murmur. I could sense the urgency in his words, as if he were attempting to retract his statement in a hurry. It was a mistake to express that. With a heavy breath, he let out a sigh. For a long time I've held on to that, and I never intended to share it. Yet there's an intriguing essence to this weekend. I'm uncertain it has just been released. As I shut my eyes, a world of imagination unfolded within me. Thoughts swirled in my head, weaving together fragments of understanding. Tom had always been a figure in our lives, yet I had never perceived him in this light before. And yet in that moment, as the words hung in the air, a transformation stirred within me, a perilous intrigue, a subtle awakening to the fact that I was not completely untouched. I ought to have put an end to it. I should have shared with him that this was not the right time, that we couldn't engage in this discussion, yet I discovered that I was inquiring, What's the duration? The words flowed out before I had a chance to hold them back. He paused, caught in a moment of uncertainty. It had been quite a while, he confessed. Perhaps more time than necessary. I always aimed to respect your journey. Once upon a time, there was you and Mark. Your expression radiated joy. I took a deep breath. We are filled with joy. Do you find yourself in that state? Tom's voice carried a softness, free from blame, yet the inquiry resonated deeply. I tried to speak, but the words eluded me. Did we find joy in all our moments? Mark and I shared nearly 30 years of our lives together. We had woven together a life, a family, a rhythm, yet over the past few years, a transformation had taken place. The fire had waned, giving way to a sense of ease and routine. We still cherished one another, yet there were instances, those hushed instances, where I sensed I was merely gliding through the routine of my own existence. I had never shared that before. I never even acknowledged it within myself. Yet Tom's question reverberated in my thoughts. I just want to share what happened. Tom continued. I felt it was important to share my truth with you. Even if it leads to nowhere, even if this moment fades into silence. I released my breath gently. Tom, I'm at a loss for words. You need not utter a word, he murmured gently. I wanted to share something with you. An oppressive quiet hung in the air between us. At last I managed to let out a faint shaky chuckle. Well, this is certainly a surprising turn of events since I decided to take on the responsibility of watching Buddy Tom let out a hearty laugh. A sound that felt cozy and inviting. Indeed, I was in the same boat. For a fleeting moment, everything seemed to fall back into place. Two old friends sharing their tales. And yet, deep down, a transformation had taken place. Gather around, Tom began after a moment of pause. I hope I'm not putting you in an awkward position. If you wish to let this moment fade away, I completely get it. Just give me the signal, and I assure you it will be left in the past. I wish I had embraced that opportunity. I could have embraced the chance he was presenting. Yet I found myself pausing, and that pause conveyed a depth that words could never capture. That night, sleep eluded me. I lay awake, my thoughts weaving through the threads of our dialogue each moment, replaying in my mind like a vivid tale. For years, I had envisioned Tom as simply Mark's companion. But now I found myself perceiving him in a new light, noticing how his eyes would soften when he spoke to me, the gentle attentiveness woven into his voice. And to make matters even more complicated, I found myself uncertain about my feelings regarding it. As dawn broke, I found myself reassuring my mind that it was merely a fleeting thought, a fleeting lapse, a simple revelation. Tom was distant, and our paths would cross once more on Monday. All would return to the way it once was. At least that was my belief. Just after noon, my phone vibrated once more. Once upon a time, there was a character named Tom. Is it too much to hope that I might reach out once more? I gazed at the message I ought to have declined, yet I discovered that I was responding instead. What about me? All right. As I picked up the phone, I could hear Tom's voice, soft and tinged with uncertainty. Greetings, hey, I responded, my heart racing with excitement. I had my doubts about whether you'd answer the call. I wasn't either. A gentle laugh escapes. I'm not quite sure where I'm headed. He confessed I feel the same way. A moment of stillness. Then he inquired, would it be wrong to say I miss being around you right now? I breathed out gently, sensing the heaviness of his words enveloping me. Once upon a time, there was a character named Tom. You don't need to say a word, he cut in. His voice was soft and soothing. I simply wanted to share something with you. Once again, the stillness envelops the space. And then, in a moment that felt both surreal and inevitable, I found myself whispering, "I appreciate your company too." A sudden breath drawn in from his side. In an instant, the world transformed. As soon as the words escaped my mouth, an exhilarating wave of something new washed over me. An experience that captivates and chills in equal measure. "I appreciate your company too." Tom remained silent initially, yet I could sense his breath coming through the phone. Leisurely, profound. It felt as if he was taking in every word I had just shared. "Do you really think so?" His voice had taken on a gentler quality, filled with caution. I took a deep breath, my fingers resting against my forehead. I found myself at a loss. I confessed candidly, "I have a feeling about that. There's an intriguing quality to this that sets it apart. I'm at a loss for how to handle that." "I understand." He paused for a moment before speaking. "I never intended for you to find yourself here. Yet deep down, I found myself surprisingly at ease with my circumstances. The allure of being in the spotlight was undeniably captivating. Let me share the experience of how Tom impacted my emotions. It felt like someone finally saw me for who I am beyond my usual roles, nor solely as a woman who dedicated her life to ensuring that everyone around her was taken care of, but has me. It was hard to recall the last moment when someone had stirred those feelings within me. Have you ever imagined how our lives might have unfolded had we crossed paths in a different way?" Tom inquired unexpectedly. There was a moment of pause. I had never considered it until now. "Yet it's on your mind at this moment." I released a breath that trembled slightly. "Absolutely." Yet. Another moment of stillness. Then Tom's voice dropped to a whisper, as if he were sharing a hidden truth. "I feel the same way." The remainder of the day unfolded like a dream. I navigated the familiar paths of my daily life, organizing the home, embarking on an adventure with Buddy one step at a time, crafting a culinary tale. Yet there was an unmistakable shift in the air. It felt as though I was navigating through two different worlds simultaneously. In one tale, I took on the role of the devoted wife, the woman who had woven a life alongside Mark, a journey rich with tales of the past and unwavering dedication. In the other, I became something entirely different. Another individual. She found herself reflecting on emotions she hadn't acknowledged before. I found myself repeating that it was merely a collection of words. Even a simple conversation can shift something deep inside. On that particular evening, I found myself settled on the couch, gently running my fingers through Buddy's soft fur. My mind weaved a tapestry of feelings, each thread a mystery I struggled to unravel. Suddenly, my phone illuminated once more. Once upon a time, there was a character named Tom. My heart raced as I opened the message. Once upon a time, there was a character named Tom Rest. Eludes me, I find myself lost in thoughts of you. As I gazed at the screen, my fingers lingered just above the keyboard, poised for the next chapter to unfold. I ought to have looked the other way. However, I chose not to. In response, I crafted a message I can relate to, that. Moments later, my phone vibrated once more. Once upon a time, there was a character named Tom. I understand that this may not be the best moment. However, I must inquire. If circumstances had shifted, if our paths had crossed prior to your relationship with Mark, do you believe there might have been an opportunity for us? I drew in a deep breath. It was something I had already discovered. And this time, I embraced the moment and shared the truth with him. "Absolutely. That's me." The following morning, a weight seemed to settle over everything. As dawn broke, I found myself awake, my mind a whirlwind of thoughts, my body yearning for movement. As I brewed my coffee, Buddy nestled at my feet, gazing up at me with an expression that suggested he sensed something amiss. I let out a soft breath, gently stroking his ears. "What am I up to, huh?" With a joyful flick of his tail, he expressed his excitement. As I reached for my phone, a little internal struggle unfolded about whether I should be the one to reach out to Tom first. Yet just as I was about to make up my mind, a different voice broke through my contemplation. "Good morning." With a sudden jolt, I glanced over to find Mark in the doorway, his arms reaching wide as if to embrace the moment. "Hey," I said, mustering a grin. "You've risen with the dawn." Restlessness enveloped him as he whispered to himself, reaching for a mug and filling it with steaming coffee. There was an unusual sensation stirring within me. A tightness gripped my insides. "What do you mean?" I inquired, maintaining a relaxed tone. He simply shrugged as if the weight of the world rested lightly on his shoulders. "I'm not sure. Simply not quite right." He lifted his cup, savoring the warmth of his coffee, and then turned his gaze toward me, his eyes lingering just a moment longer than usual. "How are you doing?" My heart raced with anticipation. I parted my lips, ready to affirm my agreement. Yet the falsehood lingered on my tongue. Because I was struggling, I found myself entangled in a situation that eluded my comprehension. There was an experience that filled me with fear, ignited my excitement, and left me puzzled. It was an experience that felt unstoppable, and in that instant, everything became clear. This had transformed into something much deeper. This marked a significant moment, and I was completely uncertain about the direction I would take. In that instant, the burden of it all enveloped me. Mark's gaze lingered on me from across the kitchen. The echo of Tom's words dances in my thoughts, and the soft, inescapable reality resting heavily upon my heart. I found myself woven into the fabric of two narratives. There I was, poised at a pivotal junction. Regardless of the direction I took, there would always be a transformation that would last for eternity. "Are you certain you're all right?" Mark inquired once more. A look of concern etched on his face. With a firm grasp on my coffee mug, I found myself pausing, lost in thought. "Indeed," I remarked, managing a faint smile. "I had a restless night." He nodded with a thoughtful pause. Yet there was a flicker in his gaze that suggested doubt lingered beneath the surface. Perhaps he was never meant to be. Time seemed to stretch endlessly. As the moments ticked away, the pressure within me intensified. I whispered to myself to release it into the ether, to distance myself from whatever spark had ignited between Tom and me. Yet, it seemed beyond reach. His words had opened a door to a hidden part of my soul. There was something I hadn't even noticed intricately woven together. As the afternoon wore on, I found myself at my breaking point. With a flutter of anticipation, I reached for my phone, fingers quivering just a bit as I crafted a message. "Hey, can we have a chat?" Time slipped by a minute. Gone in the blink of an eye, next yet another. At last, my phone vibrated with a message. "Tom, I was really looking forward to hearing you say that." Our conversation flowed softly, each word chosen with intention. We were acutely aware that we were stepping into perilous territory. "I have no intention of causing you pain," he murmured gently. "I understand," I murmured. "I don't want to bring any trouble or hurt to Mark." I took a deep breath. "Neither do I." A quiet pause lingered in the air between us. Then Tom let out a breath, yet I cannot ignore the emotions that are stirring within me. I couldn't either. And that was the tale of the issue. As I shut my eyes, I took a deep breath, savoring the moment. "I'm feeling a bit lost, Tom." He mentioned that he wasn't requesting anything from you. In another life, maybe things could have been different between us. His words unfolded like a secret waiting to be shared. A longing, a sorrow, intertwined with hope, and in that instant a revelation washed over me. Tom had no intention of disrupting my world. He was merely unveiling a memory I had let slip away. It was an experience that resonated deeply, a moment where recognition unfolded. To be desired, to be selected. Perhaps that was the reason behind these events unfolding. Perhaps it wasn't about what I lacked with Mark. Perhaps it was a reflection of the pieces of myself that had slipped away from my memory. The person I once was, who I remained to be, who I had to rediscover within myself. That evening, as I shared a meal with Mark, I observed him with a fresh perspective, reminiscent of times past. The man who had been my steadfast companion through countless moments. The man with whom I had woven the tapestry of my life. In that moment, a sense of warmth enveloped the heart. Yet, there are moments when ease can lead you to overlook the essential care that affection requires: attention, cultivation, and recognition. It became clear to me that the focus wasn't on Tom. It revolved around my experiences. I was on a quest to rediscover a lost piece of my essence. A woman yearning to experience the thrill of being wanted, vibrant, observed, and perhaps that was a dialogue I was meant to share with Mark, not Tom. As the stars twinkled above, I crafted a final message to send into the night myself. I appreciate you for bringing something significant back to my mind. Tom responded in no time at all. Oh, Tom, what do you have there? My gaze lingered on the screen, lost in thought, before I finally began to type a response. I refused to spend the rest of my days merely seeking comfort. I longed to experience deeper emotions. A moment of stillness. And so his last response, unfolded. And Tom, there's no need to hesitate in seeking it out. I set the phone aside, took a deep breath, and looked over at Mark. For the first time in ages, I felt free to express my thoughts without fear. It was merely a chapter waiting to unfold. A fresh page was turning full of possibilities.